Hello, we're looking at example 2 in your pre-calculus part 1 found in lesson P-7. This is found on page 85 of your textbook. It's talking about how to solve a linear equation that has fractions in it. And so what we're going to do here is, as you can see, here is the problem that we're looking at. And so what we have to do is to eliminate the 4 and the 3. We want to eliminate the fraction part. And in order to do that, we have to find a number that 4 and 3 will both go into, which, as you can see, is going to be 12. So when we do that, that means that since 4 and 3 will both go into 12, then we're going to multiply the entire equation, both sides of the equation, by 12. Now, when we do that, you can see in this step right here, we're going to multiply 12 by the first one, 12 by the second one, and then ultimately 12 to the other side as well. Now, when you do, the 4 and the 12 are going to cancel or reduce each other, and that 12 is going to become a 3. If I then, that means it's going to be 3 times x plus 2 here. And then when I multiply 12 by the second equation, the 3 and the 12 are going to cancel each other, and it's going to reduce the 12 to a 4. So I've got a minus 4 times the x minus 1, which is left. And then, of course, on the other side, the 12 times 2 simply just gives you 24. Now, when I start to clean that up a little bit, that means I've got to distribute. 3 times x is 3x, 3 times 2 is 6, negative 4 times x is negative 4x, negative 4 times negative 1 becomes positive 4, and then that's equal to 24. Combine your x's together, which will give you negative x or negative 1x, and then the 6 and the 4 together make 10, and then of course the 24 was on the other side. Now, scroll this down a little bit. What will happen is you want to get the x's on one side by itself and the numbers on the other, of course, to solve any equation. So if I subtract the 10 over to the other side, as you can see in this step, next step, then you end up with negative x equals 14. Now, the problem with that is we're not finished, okay? Because you can't leave a negative on that side. You've not finished until you get just x by itself. So to get rid of the negative, we have to divide by negative 1 here. And by doing so, I get x, but then 14 divided by negative 1 becomes negative 14. And then that becomes my solution. Okay. So they always want to check yourself. That means you would need to plug that back in to the original equation, and when you do, you should obtain that 2 equals 2, which is a true statement. That means that negative 14 is a true solution, and those little brackets there just mean solution set. Okay, so let's try one on checkpoint 2 here. If you see here, there is a 4, there's a 14, and there's a 7. I've got to think of the smallest number that would go into 4, that would go into 14, that would also go into 7. Now, the easiest way to do this is to pick the largest number and then go in multiples of that number. 4 won't go into 14, even though 7 will. So I need to double that. 14 times 2 then is 28. And 4 will go into 28, 14 will go into 28, and so will 7. So I'm going to take this equation, and I'm going to multiply the whole equation by 12. I mean, not 12, excuse me, 28. Okay. I'm going to multiply by 28. Now, when I multiply 28 by this one, and then by this one, and then by this one, when I multiply by the first one, the 4 is going to cancel with the 28, and it's going to become a 7. So I really end up with 7 times x minus 3 on this side. When I multiply by the second one, the 14 is going to cancel the 28 into a 2. So I'm going to multiply 2 by the 5 that is there. And then ultimately, the third one, when I multiply by that, the 7 is going to cancel the 28 into a 4. So I'm going to have to multiply 4 by the x plus 5. And by doing so, folks, that eliminates your fractions. So let's just distribute and then clean up the problem. This is going to become 7x minus 21. This becomes 10. This becomes minus 4x minus 20 because you have to distribute this minus 4. So be careful with that. Now, clean this up a little bit more. 7x minus 21. The 10 and the minus 20 go together to become minus 10 minus 4x. Now, I need to get my x's together. I like my x's on the left. It really doesn't matter. But I'm going to add 4x over here to get 11x minus 21 equals negative 10. Now I'm going to add the 21 over to get the numbers together. And 11x ends up being 11. If I then divide both sides by 11, x ends up being 1. And if I plug that back into the equation, it should give me a true statement. So 1 minus 3 here would be negative 2 over 4 equals 5 over 14 minus 6 over 7. Again, you would have to get a common denominator of 28 here. 4 times 7 is 28, so that becomes negative 14 over 28 equals 10 over 28 minus, that would be a 4. 6 times 4 is 24. So negative 14 over 28, when I add these together, or subtract these, I should say, I end up with negative 14 over 28. Those do equal, so that means the answer does check. So my solution set would simply be 1. Hope this was helpful.